I was reading this specific line in the research this morning, and it stopped me cold.
Oh, yeah.
It said, automation is a multiplier. And I think most of us, when we hear automation, we think solution, we think fix.
Sure.
But the argument here is different. It's saying that if you automate a mess, you don't actually solve the problem.
Right.
You simply scale the mistake. You aren't fixing the chaos, you're just making the chaos happen faster.
Yeah.
And that's a kind of terrifying thought to sit with.
It really is. It's the difference between, say, building a high-speed train and just strapping a rocket engine to a dumpster.
Okay, that's a vivid image.
Well, one gets you to the destination efficiently. The other just spreads garbage over a wider area at Mach 2.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are unpacking a guide titled The Blueprint for Business Automation and Process Clarity. And I think the reason we wanted to cover this is that universal frustration we're all feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You open ChatGPT or Claude, you have this vague sense of, I should be more productive. You type something in, and you get a wall of text.
It's the sugar rush of productivity, right? You feel like a genius for about 5 minutes because the AI wrote a poem or, summarized a long email.
Yeah.
But then you close the tab, look at your actual workload, the invoices, the client follow-ups, the messy spreadsheets, and you realize, wait, nothing actually moved. I'm actually more confused than I was before.
It's the gap between the demo and the reality. It feels like we're missing a step somewhere.
And the diagnosis this blueprint offers is really interesting. It suggests the problem isn't the AI tools themselves, it's our order of operations. We jump straight to the how.
The flashy tool.
The flashy tool, the $20 subscription, before we even understand what the actual workflow we're trying to fix.
So we're buying the hammer before we know if we're building a house or a boat.
We're buying a laser cutter when we don't even have a blueprint. So the roadmap for today is specific. We're going to walk through a 3-step method outlined in the source material to move from that invisible, anxious mental work to building what they call a follow-up hero app.
A follow-up hero. I like that.
Yeah. We're going to cover 3 phases. Deconstruction, so mapping those invisible thoughts. Triage, deciding what to delete versus automate. And finally, the build why. We need actual apps, not just chat windows, to run a life or a business.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the first hurdle the source mentions is this idea of vanity metrics and something called Goodhart's Law. I've heard of this in economics, usually regarding inflation or government targets, but I haven't really seen it applied to, say, my email inbox.
Yeah, it's fascinating when you apply it to personal productivity. Goodhart's Law basically states, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure.
Can you give me a concrete example of that in a workflow context? Because I think we're all guilty of chasing numbers.
Sure. Imagine you run a customer support team, or even just your own inbox. If you decide your metric for success, your target is closing tickets fast or inbox 0, you might automate a system to just blast out replies.
Okay.
The chart looks green. You close 50 tickets in an hour. Your productivity score is through the roof.
But the customers are furious.
You successfully automated bad service. Or take sales. If you tell an AI to write 100 emails to leads, it will do it.
It will.
It'll do it perfectly. But if you haven't defined the quality or the outcome you want, you just sent 100 terrible emails that damaged your reputation.
It reminds me of that saying, the dashboard is not the territory. We get obsessed with the dashboard looking green.
And because automation is a multiplier, if your process is flawed, if you're measuring the wrong thing, automation just multiplies the flaw.
Yeah.
You have to define success before you touch a button. Is success more free time? Is it 0 errors?
Is it happier clients?
Exactly.
That requires a level of intentionality that I think most of us just skip. We just want the pain to go away. So if the dashboard isn't reality, what are we actually trying to achieve here?
The source puts it beautifully. We're building systems for health and peace, not just pretty charts.
Health and peace. I like that. It feels human.
Which brings us to the next part of the blueprint, which is making the work visible. The source argues that most of our work is invisible. This is the silent killer of productivity. Think about your day. A client emails you. To an outsider or to a computer, it looks like nothing happened until you reply.
Right.
But inside your head, there was a storm. You read it, you felt anxiety, you checked your calendar, you wondered if you should ask your boss, you thought about pricing.
It's the cognitive load. It's all the processing that happens before the keystrokes.
It is. And AI cannot see your anxiety,
Yeah.
can't automate what it can't see. So the method here is called process deconstruction. You have to write down the micro steps.
Okay.
And the source suggests every task follows a simple rhythm. Input, decision, action.
Input, decision, action.
Let's use that Instagram lead example from the text. Input, you get a DM saying how much, that's the input. And what's the decision?
Well, usually I have to decide, is this person serious? Are they a bot? What price do I quote them based on their profile?
Right. And then the action is typing the reply. But here is the kicker, and the source highlights this specifically. What happens after you type the reply?
I usually tell myself I need to remember to check if they reply in 2 days.
And
Okay, I'm going to be vulnerable here. I almost never do.
Right.
I have this mental reminder trap where I genuinely believe my future self is way more organized than my present self. But that mental reminder is an invisible step. It's not on paper. It's not in a system. It's just floating around in my head somewhere.
And that is exactly where the money dies. That invisible I'll check back later step is the black hole of business.
Wow.
If you don't write that step down, check back in 48 hours, you cannot automate it.
Right.
By deconstructing it to input, message, decision, quote, action, reply, and action, schedule follow-up, you suddenly see the hole in the bucket.
It's like we're mapping the coastline of our own inefficiency. So why is that specific mental reminder step so dangerous for a business?
Because it's invisible. When you forget, the money literally disappears.
That is. Yeah, that clarity is painful but necessary. Okay, so we've written down all these steps. We've admitted to our invisible bad habits. Now we have a list of 20 steps just for sending one email.
Right.
The source calls the next phase cleaning house or decision triage. This implies we aren't just automating everything we wrote down.
God, no. That would be a disaster. This is the embarrassment phase. When you actually write down your process, you realize how much useless stuff you do. Like, oh, I copied the name from the email, pasted it into Excel, then I color code the cell.
And then I ask for an approval from Dave, but Dave hasn't looked at an approval request in 3 years.
We all have a Dave. So before you automate, you triage.
Yeah.
You ask, does it add value? If not, delete it. Don't automate a useless step, just stop doing it.
That's terrifyingly simple, but it makes so much sense.
And for what's left, you have 2 buckets. Bucket 1 is low risk. Scheduling, FAQs, sending an invoice. The verdict there, automate fully, let the robot do it.
And bucket 2.
High stakes. This is an angry client. This is closing a massive deal. This is a nuanced negotiation. The verdict. AI supports, human decides. The AI might draft the email or pull the data, but you press the button. You provide the empathy.
I think that distinction is what people miss. They think automation means replacing the human entirely, but this argues for almost like a bionic approach.
It's removing the noise to focus on the signal. We aren't replacing you. We're getting rid of the copy-pasting so you can focus on the negotiation.
It sounds like we're actually doing less automation than people expect.
Exactly. We delete the waste first, then automate only the logic.
Okay, so we've cleaned the process. We know what we want to keep. Now we get to the tool. And this is where the source takes a pretty strong stance against the tools we're all using right now. It says chatbots, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini are actually bad for running a business. And I have to push back slightly here because those tools are incredibly powerful.
They are powerful creative engines. But for operations, they have a fatal flaw, amnesia.
Yeah.
Think about it. Chat windows have no state. They don't have a permanent memory. You can have a great brainstorming session with ChatGPT about your marketing strategy, but the next day, it doesn't know if you actually sent the emails. It doesn't know which client paid. It doesn't know who is waiting. It's just a scrolling wall of text.
So every time I open a new chat, I'm essentially starting from zero.
Exactly. It's stateless. Imagine trying to run a warehouse where every morning the employees forgot where everything was stored. That's a chat window.
That's a really good point. I treat the chat window like a scratch pad, but you can't run a business on a scratch pad.
You need structure. You need tables,
Yeah.
rows and columns. You need an app.
But wait, app implies, historically, that implies hiring a developer, spending 20 grand, waiting 6 months. The source says that's the old way.
That's the 2010 way. The 2026 way is different. We're talking about no-code tools. The source mentions platforms like Base44 or Google AI Studio. These allow you to build a structured database and app in about 10 minutes.
10 minutes? That seems optimistic.
It sounds wild, but it's possible because you aren't writing code. You're just describing what you want. You say, I need a table for leads, and it appears. But the key is that data lives in rows. It's consistent.
It's not just text generation, it's data management.
Precisely.
So the chat window is actually a barrier to scaling operations.
Yes, because chats have amnesia. Apps give you a permanent memory.
Apps give you permanent memory. That is a shift in perspective. Okay, I want to visualize this. The source walks us through building something called the follow-up hero. Let's actually walk through this build step by step because I want the listener to understand we aren't talking about writing Python scripts here.
Right. Let's build it. Imagine you're sitting at your computer. You open a tool like Base 44 or a similar no-code builder.
Okay, I'm there.
Phase 1 is structure. You type into a prompt box, just plain English, I want to build a CRM for my consulting business. Create a table called leads with columns for name, source, status, and urgency.
And just like that, the grid appears.
Boom! It's there. Rows and columns. You didn't code a thing. Now, phase 2. This is the moment of wonder. This is where it gets magical.
Go on.
You add a button. You tell the system, add a button called draft reply, and you give it instructions. When I click this button, read the client's message from the row, and draft a friendly professional response in my tone.
Okay.
But, and this is crucial, save it to a draft field so I can review it.
Whoa, so I'm not just asking the AI to chat. I'm building a button that performs a complex cognitive task.
You click the button, the AI reads the row, drafts the email, and puts it in the box. You look at it, maybe tweak one word, and hit send. You aren't staring at a blank screen wondering what to say. The friction is gone.
That's profound. It changes the relationship with the AI. You aren't conversing with it. You're employing it.
And phase 3 is just design. You ask it, make a dashboard showing me new leads today, and suddenly you have a professional piece of software that runs your specific workflow.
It's fascinating. We've moved from chatting with AI to architecting with it.
You become the designer of your own software using everyday language.
And once you've built this thing, does it just stay static? Because my workflows change. The way I handle clients changes all the time.
That's the beauty of it. The source calls this the post-launch phase. You test, iterate, and integrate.
Walk me through that.
So you test with fake data first. Don't email real clients immediately. But then you iterate. Let's say you're using your follow-up hero, and you realize, shoot, I need their phone number, and I forgot to add a column for it.
Yeah.
In the old days, you'd have to call the developer and pay another $500.
Right, and wait 2 weeks for them to ticket it.
Here, you just tell the AI, add a phone number field.
Yeah.
And it does. The software is fluid, it breathes. And finally, you integrate. You connect it to your Gmail or calendar, so it becomes the control center.
There are traps, though, right? It can't be this smooth sailing for everyone.
Oh, there are definitely potholes. The source warns against 3 big ones. First, falling in love with the tool, starting with software before you even understand the problem.
Right. Second, automating everything, losing that human touch we talked about. And third, complexity, trying to build a massive enterprise system on day one.
Just start with the leads.
Just get a quick win.
So the software actually grows and evolves alongside your understanding of the work?
Precisely. It's fluid. You spot a need, you speak it, it exists.
You know, usually we take a break here, but we're going to slot in a quick word from our sponsors who help keep the lights on. And we are back. I want to try to synthesize this because we've covered a lot of ground, from philosophical laws of economics to building buttons in a database.
Mm-hmm.
The big idea here seems to be a movement from invisible to visible.
That's the core. We started with the frustration of the invisible workload, the anxiety, the mental reminders, the chaos.
And the solution wasn't get a smarter AI. It was get a clearer process.
Exactly. The 3 steps. Deconstruct, write it down. Triage, keep the good, throw out the bad, and build, create the app. And I think what struck me most was the ultimate goal mentioned in the text. It wasn't about 10x productivity or crushing the competition. It was about mental peace.
Closing the laptop at 5 p.m., knowing nothing fell through the cracks. That's a feeling money can't buy, but apparently clarity can.
That's a powerful place to land. So for the listener who is thinking, okay, this sounds great, but I'm overwhelmed just listening to this, what is the immediate next step?
The source offers a really simple challenge. We call it the napkin test.
The napkin test.
Don't go sign up for new software yet. Don't try to build the app today. Just pick one frustration. Maybe it's chasing invoices. Maybe it's scheduling podcasts.
Just the one thing that makes you grit your teeth.
Exactly. Take a napkin, literally a napkin or a piece of paper, and write down the steps. Deconstruct it. What is the input? What is the decision? What is the action? Just seeing it on paper is the first step to controlling it.
You have the power to fix your own workflow. Why not start today?
Why not, indeed?
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.